Thanks so much for joining me for another VLOGMAS video. We are talking about my top favorites in various categories. We have a lot of base products today, so jumping right in, we have a new product to me this year. We'll have a lot of repeats, of course, but this one really stood out this year. It's the Victoria Beckham foundation. I have mine in 2 shades. I have it in 6 and in 8. If you haven't seen it, it looks like this. And I'll show you a swatch in a moment. The reason why I love this, it really is your skin, but fresh from the spa kind of look to it. It's like a dewier, but not an oily type feeling on the face kind of look, which I really appreciate because it's an even healthier version of my skin when I wear it. So we have here, you can see the shades. We've got shade 8 and shade 6. So I love that for a very natural, very effortless kind of look. It's a sheer to medium coverage. It's really more sheer on me. That's the best way for me to wear it. I don't like building up too much because I think it takes a little bit away from the very natural dewy nature of it. So I like this for a very, very natural look. Okay, then we have some older favorites here. And I have this one on today. This is by Chanel. This is the Chanel SUBLIMAGE L'Essence de Teint. And this one has been a favorite of my Chanel foundations for a while now. It always rises to the top. And this one's a bit more fluid than the one in the jar. I have this one on right now. So this one is in B40. Right there, B40. And this one, I'm actually going to keep the swatches on so you can see them side by side. This also has a very nice and fluid kind of texture to it. It's a little bit more pink compared to 6. So I'll show you. So this is 8, 6, and then this is B40. So it's a little bit more neutral. And this one has some nice hydration, but still has a lovely dry down. It's not dewy at the level of the Victoria Beckham, but it's definitely dewier than the next Chanel foundation that I'm going to talk about. This one's more of a more medium coverage compared to the Victoria Beckham. So even though this is one of the more sheer foundations I have that I use from Chanel, it's still not as sheer as the Victoria Beckham. This is another favorite of mine by Chanel. It's the SUBLIMAGE Le Teint. This is the one in the jar, and this one is in BD41. And it's got more of a pudding consistency to it. It's definitely more opaque in its coverage. It does have a nice long-lasting aspect to it, which I've tested out quite a bit. It's one of the longer lasting foundations. Not as long lasting as gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a very long lasting Chanel foundation. This is very natural, very skin-like. This is BD41. So you have the line up there, 8, Victoria Beckham 6, then you've got B40, and then you have BD41, which is more of my ideal shade match. But you can also see it's definitely like a thicker texture to it. And then of course, we can't forget this one, which has been a favorite in the past. It is one of my holy grail products. It is by Chantecaille, and this is in Wheat. It's a cushion foundation, and someone let me know recently that this works really well over their SPF, and I thought I should really start using that this way. I was using the Victoria Beckham that way, which actually, when I come to think of it, wouldn't be the first thing to pull for because it is more fluid, although it does work really well over my SPF. I use the Supergoop, this one. It's very well loved. This matte sunscreen is the one that I use by Supergoop on the daily because it has more of a primer consistency to it. And that one's a mineral SPF. So this one actually lends itself really well to over SPF because it comes with a little applicator, which is a sponge. So there isn't a brushing motion where I'd be moving around SPF rather than just placing it on. And it comes in a cushion like this, and it's very natural. Now this is a little bit deep for me, and each of these shades actually covers a wide range. I can also wear the color that's a little bit lighter than this. Now this is very much exactly matching my hand. You can see how my hand is darker than my face, why it would be a little bit deeper, but it does have really lovely wear time on it, and it looks better over time. In fact, this one, the Chantecaille Future Skin Cushion, and also this one really look great. This is the Chanel SUBLIMAGE in the jar. These two look really great over time, and they almost look better the more I wear them. So that's the hallmark of an amazing foundation, is something that looks better over time. So here, this last color I added is Wheat by Chantecaille. So those are all the foundations that are really outstanding. In addition to these being really outstanding, they are also foundations I pull for a lot. So I actually don't really love foundation. I think I've talked about that before. If I could go without foundation, I would. And most of the time, I really am wearing very, very little makeup and just a thin veil. If I am wearing makeup, I don't want it to be very visible. Now on camera, definitely can get away with a lot of makeup and it looks nice. And I don't have a lot of makeup on, but I definitely have a little bit more than I normally would. Oh, I put on this one. This is what I have on, if I didn't mention again. The SUBLIMAGE L'Essence de Teint in B40 is what I have on my skin, which is actually quite a nice match for me in the winter because I'm not as tan. Then moving on to concealers. Okay, I love concealers, and this is a new discovery this year. It's by Colleen Rothschild. It's the Illuminating Tinted Eye Cream, and I know it's not a concealer, but that's how sheer and natural I love my makeup, so I will wear this as a concealer on really natural days. And this one has that peachiness to it, which I love, and you can see when I put on a concealer here after this, you'll see that this actually has quite a bit of pigment to it. So this is the color, so it's going to combat that darkness because of that undertone, that peach tone. It's really lovely. And actually Colleen Rothschild is a brand that you had let me know about and actually asked me if I had used it before they found me. So they sent this to me and I've been using ever since. It's a really beautiful product, but it's very, very natural. So there are several products that I like by Colleen Rothschild. Let me know what else you love. I'm testing out some more items that just came my way, but that's a really pretty one. And because I mentioned I'll show you a concealer next set just to show you the pigmentation of it. And then it does have enough, I think, to serve as a very fluid concealer. This is the Chantecaille Le Camouflage Stylo, which I've talked about many times before. This is in 4C by Chantecaille, and it has a brush on it. And I love this because it is a fluid kind of concealer. And this one, like I said, is in 4C. I'll show you the swatch. I love this for under the eye, when I want some more coverage than the Colleen Rothschild. And then I'll also use this on my dark spots. It's one of the few concealers that I can use in both spots where it looks really beautiful. Actually, I should have thrown this one in here because this one, this Westman Atelier concealer also can do both. But let me talk about this Chantecaille concealer. So this is in 4C. It's really beautiful, skin-like, easy to travel with. And it really is one of those concealers that I go through time and time again and has withstood the test of time over many years and continues to be a product I come back to over and over again. And I don't think I'm ever without this. So once it starts to get empty, I will purchase a new one. Then the one I just mentioned, the Westman Atelier, which is the other concealer I will use on both the eyes and the dark spots. And if you don't know, I do have dark spots here, which are improving so much. And I will be talking about skincare in the future, like maybe in the next few weeks, what my skincare favorites are, because I know I have a lot of questions about discoloration and what I've done to take care of it. But I'm going to tell you now, SPF is really one of the most key products that I've used consistently over the last 10 years that I've been working on this. Everything else has been kind of changed up a little bit, but SPF, really when I concentrate on that, that is when I see the most progress. Okay, probably because I am protecting the progress that I've made. Okay, this one by Westman Atelier is an M2, and it's definitely a thicker kind of consistency. It's more opaque, and you'll see has more like a structure to it. It's not as fluid. So there it is. It's got a more warm tone to it. So that's why I prefer this one when I can use that. But the set I offer is really very natural, almost an imperceptible kind of a makeup. I used to wear a lot of makeup, a lot more makeup, but now I wear just what I need. Now, speaking of two products that are concealers that are definitely more opaque, these are definitely more opaque, more perfecting. So we have the Chanel Under Eye Concealer. This is my second one, so that's how much I love it. I have gone through this, and a little goes a long way. Like, I always make the mistake of putting too much on, and I always say, oh, that was too much. There's still quite a bit left here. This one is in the shade 40, and this one also has a nice color correcting kind of tone to it. I just use it under my eyes. I use a little bit. Whenever I need it perfected under the eye area, I will use this. And then I will go over it with a little bit of the CAMOFLAUGE STYLO right in a very targeted area, not all the way under the eye. But this is the Chanel in 40. So you can see it does have a peachiness to it, and it does have quite some structure to it. It is definitely thicker than the other ones. And then for the concealer that is really in a category all its own is the Clé de Peau concealer for anything that's a dark spot. In fact, I have a couple of breakouts here that are really dark. I scar really easily. Fortunately, these will be here for a while before they fade. But this one is the most natural looking in terms of an opacity and then not adding extra texture to the skin. Not a whole lot is needed. You can put a thin layer on and it does a really nice job. It is like a virtual eraser for dark spots. And I have dark spots on the front here. When they were really severe, this is the only thing that would work, because what this does is it starts to meld with the skin over time and look even more natural instead of getting a puckered kind of appearance to it where it's raised. That can happen with other concealers with me. Once it starts intermingling with oils, it doesn't become one and melt with the skin. In some cases, what it can do is actually separate from the skin and then it looks really bad. This doesn't do that. This melds beautifully with the skin, works with various foundations. I have never had an issue with the foundations that I've used where it didn't interact well. So it's very universal in terms of how well it plays with other products. So I have mine in Honey, and this is the third iteration I've tried of this. There have been many versions of this since I started using this product. This one has SPF 27, so it does double duty, helps protect those dark spots from sun, which is one of the key things when working on things like hyperpigmentation. Definitely want to keep those parts out of the sun. I have here Honey. You can see it does have like a bit of a color correcting aspect to it as well. So those are all the concealers. And then we are on to powders. Now, over the years, I have really relied on powder because one thing powder does on camera is it makes things look really smooth and really flawless, and also takes away any kind of shine or any kind of visible texture because the light isn't reflecting as much as if there were highlighter on the skin, because highlighter can really bring out texture. So I am very reliant on powders. However, now I don't wear as much powder, but I still rely on a few powders that do an amazing job that don't compare with other powders. So for a setting powder, I rely on the Clé de Peau. This is a pressed powder. I think they came out with a loose powder, which I have not yet tried, but I do like this pressed version. It's a little less messy in general than a loose powder, but this is the pressed powder. It's translucent. It looks like it's got a little bit of a, it's not completely white. It's got like a pinky tone to it, almost a peachy tone, but once on, it's very translucent. I have it on now. It's the first powder I powdered with today because I have another powder on top. But here you can see the color of that. The Clé de Peau pressed powder. Really, it's one of the silkiest powders I've tried. You can tell the particles are very, very fine. So if you've ever had a chance to feel this powder, you can feel the difference and then also see it on the face because it just looks like it's very delicate on the face and not heavy at all. It also does do a really nice job of powdering and setting, which is what a powder should really do. And then for a finishing powder, and sometimes I will use this as my only powder, especially if I just put on concealer, and then I'll use this almost as a powder foundation because it does have some color to it. It does perfect in terms of the discoloration. It has a bit of a peachy tone to it. Also helps perfect the surface or the appearance of the surface of the skin because it just really smooths everything out. So this is the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Powder, which I dropped recently. Maybe it wasn't even that recently, but I do continue to use these until they're all the way up. So you can see it's got a pretty tone to it. So here's a Chantecaille Light Medium. And as I said, I can use this light medium as almost a foundation of sorts. And then my last powder is this powder by Hourglass because Hourglass does this kind of powder better than anyone else. They have beautiful reflective particles in there. They're very soft, at least in this dim light. It's very soft, so it diffuses the light. Very slight glow, very natural looking. So if you're looking for a powder that's a little bit different, has a little bit of a glow, but in a very natural way, not like a disco ball kind of glow, but very soft focus kinds of particles. This is lovely. This is in dim light, like I said. So I use this to bring out bone structure. I will use it to give a little bit of glow. If my skin's looking dull, I'll use this to just help it look a little bit more alive. So this is a little one and I've had this for a while and that's all I need. I don't add a lot of it. So when I do use this, my skin looks just a little bit healthier. So it definitely lends that healthy glow to my skin whenever I use it. Really pretty. So Hourglass really does these very, very well. And because I keep talking about no foundation, I do love very sheer coverage. Like that seems to be the thing, almost like a no makeup look, very effortless kind of look. And this one is one I've been using quite a bit, especially in the evening or when I won't be in the sun. So this is by Chantecaille. This is the Sheer Glow Gold Face Tint. They have 3 of them, which I've featured before, but this is the one that I pull for the most. So depending on skin tone, they have a rose one, which is pinkier. Here, they have one that is a bronze. Here, if you are more rich in your skin tone, I do use all 3 of them, but out of all 3, I use this one the most. I will travel with this as well, but it feels like and looks like skincare, which is what I love. I think one of the things I don't love most about foundation is the way that it typically feels. Like I can sense it on my skin. This I cannot sense on my skin. It just feels like it's nicely hydrated and then there's this pretty glow to it. And then I'll just add a little bit of the Chantecaille like Camouflage STYLO, this one right here, and then maybe a little blush and then I'm done for my complexion. And sometimes I'll skip powder too. Or I can add a little bit of the Perfect Blur powder on with this if I want to just do a little bit of perfecting up front here. But you can see there's the gold glow face tint. It's really pretty. Definitely warmer. Then we've got it sheared out as well. Beautiful product. And then we can't talk about sheer coverage without talking about the Water Fresh Tint by Chanel. And this one is in medium plus. This is encapsulated powder. These little particles of pigment, when they are applied, break them up a little bit here by blending it together. And then this is why it can set itself. And then it also does have a beautiful glow about it. That's medium plus. I don't use primer all the time, but when I do use primer, these are the primers I pull for. So this is not a new one. This is the Mattifying Base by Chanel. And this one is the matte version because there's another one I'll talk about in a moment. This is great for more oily skin types. For me, I'm oily in the center here, especially in the summer. So primer is certainly a priority in those kinds of weather conditions now, not so much, but I will wear this. Actually, did not put primer on today. But if I was going to, I would pull for this. If I knew it was gonna get warmer or I had a really long time to wear makeup, I would use this primer. And it looks like this. It's really smooth going on. Really pretty finish, not like a really thick cakey, but beautiful. And this one's new to me. This is by Jillian Dempsey. It's a Mixturizer, and this can be mixed with other products as well, like a concealer, and it can thin it out. You can make a concealer into a foundation. I like the versatility of something like this, but when I tested it out, it also had a very similar kind of performance and texture and feel as the Chanel Mattifying Primer, which is why I liked it. And you can see here, they also look very similar. That's a Jillian Dempsey right next to the Chanel. And then the third primer, if you like a little bit of glow, this is by Chanel. This is the Illuminating Primer. This is great for if you want a little bit more hydration and if you have less oily skin. This might be a nice one to try because it does have some illuminating aspects to it in terms of particles, very fine particles in here. And it's also a little bit more hydrating. So this one is illuminating, which I'll use sometimes depending on how my skin is doing. I still really think it's pretty though. So you can see all 3 primers there. That's it for my favorite base products of 2025. Foundations, concealers, what do we have? Primers, powders. Make sure to come back for my favorites of 2025 where I will select one in each category and let you know what those are. And I will do a get ready with me featuring all of those products. But that's it for today's video. So please take care of each other. Stay well if you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.